8 years ago, something happened that forever changed the course of my life. Something that forged the path from an academically dismissed World of Warcraft addict, college dropout, to where I am today. As a cloud security engineer, formerly a senior security analyst, making more money than I could have ever imagined just a few years ago. If you've seen my college journey video, you'll know a little bit about my backstory. For those of you who have the attention span of a goldfish and don't want to listen to me blab on and on about my past, there's timestamps available for you to skip ahead. At the end of 2016, I was academically dismissed from university after failing a linear algebra class that dropped my GPA below the minimum requirement. I have been working as a mover up till that point. Sure, I was getting jacked, but not a long-term solution to making oodles of money. My wife and child were depending on me, and I failed. Again, this was my second attempt at college. I had to find direction in my life, a career choice, but more importantly, something I was passionate about, or at the very least, something I was good at that I could do for the rest of my life to provide for my family. I couldn't keep ignoring my responsibilities with video games. As a man, as a husband, as a father, I needed to do better. Because let me tell you a little bit about what I've encountered in my comments, in Reddit posts, and videos I've doom scrolled past. For everyone living in the US or any place that isn't legitimately like living in a third world country, the UK, looking pretty sus these days, everyone needs to man and woman the f up and stop complaining about this or that being the reason they're not well off in life. It's no one's fault but yours that you are where you are in life. A nice life and career isn't going to magically drop in your lap. You're probably not going to enjoy the work it takes to get the life you want either. Newsflash, it's not supposed to be enjoyable. Those who make it out the other side as successful adults did it with grit, did it depressed, did it when they didn't want to. Easy for you to say you grew up privileged or some shit. Shut the f up. Shut the f up. As you'll hear in a minute, I've had nothing to get me ahead in life other than a strong desire to be self-sufficient and never have to rely on anyone in my life. It's easy to complain about someone else having so much. It's not easy to do something about your own life, your own living conditions. Worry about yo damn self. Get your ass up and do something productive with your time. In 2017, I finally got out of the shit mentality that everyone seems to possess these days. The loud ones, anyways. Might not even be a majority mindset, but the news sure does a damn good job with the doom and gloom headlines. A mindset where people think they're entitled to a cushy life. Even worse, people who think they should be guaranteed a job right out of college. Newsflash, here's an article from 1983. This dude, David Rivers, graduated from a university. 9 months prior to moving to New York City, he was enthusiastic, optimistic, wanting to start a career in advertising. But despite being fit for the job, having some impressive credentials, including a high grade point average, and even some part-time work experience, this guy was unable to break into advertising or even land an entry-level job. This is the 1980s, folks, and apparently he wasn't alone. Recent college graduates, more than 900,000 of them in the 1980s, were having to settle for jobs that do not require a degree if they wanted to work at all. That means they got a degree and they got a job that didn't require the degree. It's been a constant struggle. Times have not really changed that much. The only thing that's really gone down the shitter is inflation, the value of the dollar, but I'm not here to talk about that. It's never really been the case, though, that a degree guarantees you anything. It's just a means to an education, which you can learn all the same stuff on your own if you wanted to, through certificates or freely available content online. And it serves as an aid to get your career going. So unless you're gonna be a doctor or a lawyer, a degree is not a requirement, nor is it a guarantee you'll find a job. Part of the issue is this isn't explained in high school. There's no shit gets real class, and kids, especially these days, need a class like that. Reality check. This old quote has never been more true. Grind in your 20s, build in your 30s, chill in your 40s, or don't, and barely get by your entire life. So, 2017. At the ripe age of 25, I pulled my head out of my ass and everything kind of fell into place. But before I get to that, a little more backstory on me and my childhood might help, just so all of you complaining about your lack of privileges can quiet down. I grew up in the armpit of the United States, Fresno, California. First US born in my family of 6, my jabroni siblings were born in Ukraine. Not to brag or anything, but I'm the only natural born US citizen in my family. Before anyone says anything, my parents immigrated legally with green cards, like you're supposed to. Anyways, my parents didn't have much, like anything at all, barely spoke English, but learned it somewhat eventually. We grew up poor, but I guess I didn't really understand how poor until I got older. Very poor. Getting free food at the food bank poor. I remember going to the food bank with my mom and being very embarrassed to be there. I also don't remember much of my childhood though, which my wife says is odd. Maybe it was beat out of me. Good old-fashioned Slavic discipline. Not sure what to make of my lack of memories, but hey, as far as I can remember, it was an all right childhood. After my brothers got into gangs and shit, my parents decided to move somewhere safer, quieter when I was 10, or risk my brothers getting shot, probably. They were being pretty stupid. We moved into a trailer park in some podunk town. I didn't really talk to my parents in my teens. As a result, I was blissfully unaware of the real world. Adulting, as they call it these days. Adult shit like bills, owning a house, credit score, financial stability, and the concept of a career. I saw how they struggled to make money. My mom worked in children's care, and my dad kind of did whatever he could to make money. They would fight a lot over finances and random other shit, but doing the best they could to cover the bills, I guess. I didn't live the typical American household life, more of a freshly immigrated household life. Lots of bland borscht and weird road trips in an RV. My point in explaining all of this is I didn't have any real direction in my home life. I was directed to go to church, play an instrument, and finish school. Public school, like I mentioned earlier, which I'm sure everyone is painfully aware of also, doesn't prepare you for adult shit. We need to start teaching pertinent adult concepts like taking a fucking student loan that has variable interest rates once you graduate and explain to you the odds of you paying it off. Luckily, I was smart enough out of high school to realize jumping into university is entirely unnecessary when transfer degrees exist, where you're not paying university prices for filler classes. But I digress. I naturally excelled at science and math. School was incredibly easy for me. Even taking copious amounts of AP classes in my junior and senior year of high school, I had no idea what I wanted to do by the end of it all. Since I graduated high school in 2010, cybersecurity was a loose concept held by IT professionals only. Mind you, this was during the age of AVG and Norton AV that couldn't catch a backdoor if the entire company's reputation depended on it. I'm not going to review everything that I've already covered in multiple other videos, but the only things I knew I wanted to do between 2010 and 2017, as far as getting a job, was I wanted to make a lot of money and do something with computers, since all I ever did was sit behind a computer. Did I mention I was addicted to WoW? Because I was in balls deep. During that time, I held some retail jobs. My first Target job, I was paid something like $8 an hour. After a year, I got like a 9-cent raise and vividly remember my manager gaslighting the shit out of me, pretending like, oh yeah, that's pretty good, dumb bitch. And then of course I got into a moving job where I busted ass moving 1 to 5 bedroom houses for a living. There were days where I spent over 12 hours moving shit. My longest day was in the middle of winter from 9 a.m. to 1 a.m. 16-hour workday. I'm pretty sure I worked the next day too. I remember trying to fold moving pads and I couldn't feel my fingers. It was a 2-person job that turned into a 4-person job that turned into a 6-person job that ended back into a 2-person job, me and another guy who were willing to work that long. Why would I do that to myself, you might be thinking? Because I ain't no bitch and I wanted money. I could go on. But my point is, I did what I had to do to try and pay bills while I went through college, or whatever I decided on. But in 2017, my back was desperately trying to find something else. This might come as a surprise, but I was the strongest. I didn't know cybersecurity or IT certificates were a thing, much less a viable option. I thought at the time that a degree was my only option. Problem was, I essentially was inept at coding. I wasn't interested in learning the basics, much less learning the technical theory behind it, like data structures. Ugh. By that point, I was thinking, okay, I have wasted all this time and finished all these classes that were filler classes needed to obtain a computer science degree. Obviously, a third attempt at computer science was a bad idea. Fool me once, fool me twice, this idiot has learned his lesson. I took a look at my options, and by that time, all those years of me being stupid, cybersecurity had really taken off in the IT space and had become a fully established degree. The classes sounded like something I could get into, so I gave college a third attempt. My first quote-unquote computer class, as you might call it, didn't spark that much interest in me, but it was easy. It didn't cover cybersecurity concepts really, just the basics of Windows computers. Here's our first assignment that I dug up in my old mailbox. Exploring Windows 8.1. Left click the start button in the lower left. Guys, this one class costs $500 to $600 at a community college. It would be thousands of dollars at a university. I think people who defend college are just coping with how much money they spent on it. I don't want to hear a single person complain about me recommending the Google Cybersecurity certificate or anyone recommending it when classes like this exist. People need classes like this or courses like that when they don't know anything about computers. I've recommended Coursera for years now. Man, been making videos for so long because Coursera is a cost-effective way of touching on the basics that this class covered and can introduce you to the world of cybersecurity or IT or computer science. I've partnered with Coursera amongst the sea of learning platforms because they are one of the best learning platforms for beginners who are trying to figure out what they want to do. If you need a sense of direction in your life, figuring out what you're most interested in is crucial. And one of the trends I've been noticing with new people who hear about cybersecurity and think it's a viable option for them is how little they actually know about the field while simultaneously deciding it's for them. It's madness. They're misguided by videos with massive promises. So check out the IT courses, the cybersecurity ones, the coding ones, and if you find any of it fun, you might be cut out for a job working with computers after all. For a limited time, they're offering 40% off 3 months worth of Coursera Plus access, which gives you unlimited access to more than 10,000 courses. So check out the link down below and get some direction in your life. This class was easy. We explored how Windows operating system worked, but not necessarily how it could be exploited, how it could break, how people can abuse the operating system and use it against itself. Hackers. I, much like the rest of you might have been, am also guilty of misunderstanding what hackers were. The term itself had this badass mystique about it back before I knew better. If you asked me to describe what a hacker was at the time, I'd have to Google it. But I'd say something like they can get access to your computer or stuff using advanced big brain computer skills. I didn't even know how networks worked at the time. It's actually difficult to remember how little I knew at the time because of how much I've studied and learned up till now. Now, obviously, I know the term hackers can apply to nation-state actors with very expensive zero-day exploits, all the way down to some random dude in Russia who got bored and bought a malware kit. It's just a word, and hacking as a whole is just breaking into stuff or breaking stuff. That stuff being software and hardware. Don't even get me started on hardware hacking. That was beyond my comprehension at the time, and honestly still is. Embedded software is wild. There's so much to know about and learn. Again, I digress. That first class didn't wow me. Saying that means two things to me now. Something has to wow me like WoW did. My brain's dopamine reward system has a high standard now after playing WoW for so long. Network Security 1. This was it. This was the reason why I chose cybersecurity and why I put so much faith that this is a viable long-term career for me. One of our first assignments that really stuck out to me was one on Google dorking. Prior to that class, I never went down the rabbit hole of how Google works, how web indexing works in search engines, how web crawlers work. This is how Google works. First, Google finds out what pages exist on the web using its web crawler. Googlebot. There isn't a central registry or list of all web pages, so it has to crawl everywhere to find everything it can. Anyone can register a new domain, create a new website. So Google must constantly look for new and updated pages and add them to its list of known pages. Googlebot uses an algorithmic process to determine which sites to crawl, how often, and how many pages to fetch from each site. This algorithm is important because web application firewalls can get annoyed and block Googlebot from crawling their site if there's too much traffic. The reason they might block it is because too much traffic might indicate a denial of service attack. Another wonderful concept in cybersecurity. Google wants to index everything it can to better serve people who use it to search for shit. Companies want their sites to be indexed to drive traffic to their sites. It's a wonderful symbiotic relationship. Enter Google dorking or Google hacking. You can use Google with advanced search operators in combination with keywords or strings, thereby directing Google's search algorithm to look for specific information. Like this. See? A database in China. Oh look, live video feeds in 2025. Nice. We're all When we did this 7 years ago, we also found databases and live video feeds. It's crazy how nothing's changed. This was the first of many times through my cybersecurity classes where I was shocked by how exposed things were and how easy it was to get into some things. The longer you work in cybersecurity, the more jaded you are by the fact that it's usually not a sophisticated zero-day exploit that gets you compromised. It's stupidly ignored default settings. Misconfigurations. Someone left the door open. Now I remember our professor warning us not to run run too many searches in Google and to pivot to DuckDuckGo after a few to prevent our IPs from getting flagged. Just a word of caution to all of you who want to try this. I know Google dorking is script kiddie shit, but this was my first year in the cybersecurity degree, and we did plenty of more advanced stuff further on. Don't sleep on it either. You can do some major OSINT using Google's built-in search operators and really dig up some dirt. For example, ChatGPT can be searched using the site search operator to dig up shared conversations that people unwittingly shared, unaware that Google would index it. Ah, yes. The biggest danger in cybersecurity. Stupid people. The class went through most of these labs. Maybe all, I don't know. I can't remember. Here's one I was able to find in my mailbox. So many labs. I've done so many. And I had to think long and hard about this because I didn't necessarily have an aha moment. I wasn't inspired by some talk at DEF CON. I was blissfully unaware of hacker conventions at the time. The clouds didn't open up. I didn't achieve enlightenment. I found something that piqued my interest more than anything else did up till that point, and I stuck with it. The Windows, Linux, virtualization, and Cisco networking classes that built the foundation to even begin to comprehend what we covered in this networking security class is, in hindsight, the reason why I stuck with it all. I was far more interested in understanding tools and hacking methodologies to break the law, ethically, of course. We did have coding classes in the cybersecurity degrees curriculum, but when I approached it from a how this code can be broken or manipulated, that interested me way more than coding just to code. If you find yourself wondering, hey, am I cut out for cybersecurity? My best advice is to work through some labs to see if you're interested. My old ass did not have the luxury of having sites like Hack the Box, Try Hack Me, Let's Defend, Cyber Defenders, Maldev Academy. Most of the well-known cybersecurity educational sites today weren't even around until I was nearly done with my cybersecurity degree. They have every possible lab that I did in the entirety of my degree. It's that simple. Pick a site, put in some time, and work through the labs. You don't have to love every second of it. And if the labs are still too complicated for you, go back to Coursera, brush up on the basics. Finding a passion doesn't mean every aspect of something is going to give you a dopamine rush like a video game does. Now, there are people out there who legitimately get a high from finding new ways of exploiting something and breaking in, but that doesn't need to be you. You need to be interested enough to, at the very least, be able to work through the labs and find some part of it fun, even if it's just the satisfaction of successfully rooting into something, escalating your privileges, identifying the root cause of a compromise, knowing what commands to use, something. And if none of this interests you, sadly, we're not all cut out to work on computers. As appealing as working remotely making six figures sounds, do yourself a favor and seriously ask yourself, are you cut out for this? Can you wrap your head around how the software and hardware works that makes the tech space go round? I can't be a doctor. I don't like seeing people's insides outside. It's not for me. So I knew early on, don't even think about it. Now, some of you might be curious, where am I now? How has it been since making the decision in 2017 to start the cybersecurity journey? Well, I'm homeless, my wife left me, I don't get to see my kids, and I'm in severe debt, and I regret everything. It's been a while since I did that, but here's my career progression, if you want to call it that. I landed my first formal IT position at a local MSP in 2019, working the tier 1 ticket queue on site 30 minutes away from where I lived. Learned that I hate MSPs and billable hours is ass. Quit after 6 months to focus on college. During that time, I did office work for the same moving company because I had broken my wrist, and they were very flexible with my school schedule. I graduated with my cybersecurity bachelor's degree in 2020 at the peak of COVID. Started an e-commerce sales business for a year that flopped. Basically, sales went down, and I wasn't making enough money. Learned a lot about business though. Got another MSP job in 2021. This time it was remote, working the tier 1 queue again. I very quickly got fed up with the type of work that I was doing, while another person hired did less than half of what I did. After a year, I had reached my breaking point. I was going to do anything in my power to get a legitimate cybersecurity job that didn't suck the life out of me. So towards the end of 2022, after 1,000+ applications, I got my first formal cybersecurity job at a Fortune 500 company through a contracting agency as a security analyst. You have to be relentless in your pursuit of any job. That's especially true for tech jobs. I'm sick of saying the same thing over and over just as much as you hate hearing it, but people are still oblivious to the fact that they're not doing everything in their power to put themselves out there and find the job they want. A few months into my security analyst position, I started this channel to help people avoid some of the mistakes I made. It's grown steadily. I can't make this a full-time full-time job, unfortunately, for those of you who want more videos. After a year with the Fortune 500 company, I started looking for higher paying jobs where I could be a full-time employee and not a contractor. I made another video about how I landed my current job and another job that got rescinded. Watch that if you're interested. At the start of 2023, I landed a job as a senior security analyst for a managed security service provider. Again, fully remote, but now a full-time employee with benefits, PTO, the whole kit and caboodle. The entire time, I tried my best to get hands-on work with the configuration side of things. The senior security engineer at our company allowed me to explore and help out because I showed interest in it, deploying security tools, configuring security policies, implementing security controls, and documenting all of it. And after a year, I was promoted to cloud security engineer with a 30% raise to boot. Financially speaking, and as far as career progression goes, I'm in a position right now that I could only dream of in college. Back then, I didn't even know security engineers existed, much less what they did. I think the fact that I didn't know speaks volumes to how cybersecurity degrees or other IT-related ones don't really prepare you for specific roles. It's up to you to fill in the gaps and research what all the foundational knowledge you're studying is going to apply to. As far as the future goes, my plan as far as my career is to learn everything I can about cloud security, become an expert in cloud security engineering, and make oodles and oodles of money. I wouldn't say I had the hardest time getting to where I am in life right now, but one thing I know for damn sure is it wasn't easy.